I think I read this right. Correct me if you read it differently. But don't the demons get their wish? They ask Jesus, please, we would like to enter this herd of pigs. And Jesus grants it. I mean, they get their wish. There's only one problem. Apparently, well, there's a couple of problems here right off the bat. I mean, think this through with me here for a second. First of all, they don't know how to control pigs. Did you read this? Did I read this correctly? The demons enter the swine. The swine decide to go and commit suicide by jumping into the lake. Right? Well, that was a really good plan, wasn't it? But apparently the demons came control pigs. Now, not only that, it's their idea to go to the pigs, right? Am I reading this right? I mean, just correct me if I'm wrong. So apparently they don't know that they can't control pigs.
No 4-H, huh?
I've never thought of that, but no. Apparently that is not being taught in the abyss, where they also don't really want to go. You know, I mean, it seems to me kind of really amazing. They have no power to resist Jesus. I mean, he does with them as he pleases. They don't know that they don't know what pigs are like. And when they do get to pigs, it's like the first day was a grown pig in 4-H to follow Linda's singing there. They figure out they don't have much control of anything at all. Which leads me to the second set of questions about all these darn people that are in this story. Now, one of them, you know, I mean, ultimately, does he have a name? We keep calling him Legion, but that's because he's got a legion of demons. He has no name. So he's just some guy who floats around Gentile territory. We're across the lake from Galilee, where the Jewish people end. So he's just there. And somehow, you know what? They've made do. They've made do with a legion of demons. You notice that? Well, they couldn't control him in the city. They couldn't talk sense to them. They couldn't reason with him. So they just kind of sent him off to live in the graveyard. Place of death. That's just lovely. They had managed the problem. They managed the problem really well. They managed the problem so well that when the problem gets solved, they don't know what to do next. Please go away. We had a really good piece going here. Yeah, spelled P-E-A-C-E, John. Not with an S. Besides, we didn't plant any peas, did we? Read the church sign just to understand that little inside line there. But these are folks who've made really some real compromises with evil, to the point where you know, I guess we don't go to the graveyard anymore. Legion lives there. You know. Maybe he'll let us to the graves. You know, a place of fear. Once the demons are gone, what's going to happen to this town? Come on, you know the answer.
Oh, they get redemption, because Legion goes out and ministers to them.
That would be my prayer, but that's a really optimistic thought. Viewed against chapter 11 of Luke, that's a really optimistic thought. Even Jesus says, you know what, when a demon finds that it's been driven out and it's in the bare places and it gets to be homesick, it comes back to the place that it was driven out and finds it clean and empty and ready for habitation, and invites some other friends to come join him. Something has to replace this emptiness. Life kind of has to be rearranged. Everybody around has to come to understand that it wasn't just Legion that was in this man. Legion also kind of had control over everybody else. The same legion who can't do anything with pigs. Just saying. But they all had made arrangements with legion. What a mess. What a total mess. Remind you of anything?
Government.
What? Government? Life. In general. This would be my answer. Life is full of little accommodations. One has to always worry what the accommodations is made to, and is it to Jesus Christ and to the strength that actually has power over that which possesses, or is it to other arrangements? Just keeps it at bay over there in the graveyard where we don't want to go anyway. Because somehow there is a power that can actually control the demons and send them away. Jesus. Any of you belong to him? Any of you belong to him? There's a yes. Okay. We need to practice a heck of a lot, because I'm getting on to where we need to talk about this man. You know, I mean, any of you belong to him? The answer is immediate and undoubting, yes, I do. And I don't live in the tombs. I don't live around the places of death. You know, if anybody asks you whether you belong to Jesus, then the answer is yes. And by the way, it's the defense against the demons. Do you belong to Jesus? Yes. Get away from me. I belong to the one who has power over you, all the forces of evil. Get away from me. By the way, that was in your baptismal liturgy, whether you remember it or not. Do you reject all the forces of evil and all their empty promises? If so, say I do. And either you or your sponsor says, yes, I do. Because of it, baptism is a statement that says, I now belong to Jesus. And I do sit in this world, in spite of all this kind of stuff, like a little lonely figure. With all its compromises and all the stuff that's going on, you know, here sits legion. I mean, just picture this for a moment, will you please? After all that has happened, after the demons have been driven out of him, after he is now in his right mind, he sits there in his right mind, kind of as a lonely figure. This town kind of has this idea that they liked him better when he was nuts. But he's now the only sane human in the room. What do you do when you're the only sane person? Well, you know, you say kind of quietly of Jesus, could I maybe follow you? Because these people are crazy. To which Jesus then says,
Yes.
okay, did you listen while I was reading it? I know my voice was failing while I was doing it. Still, he told him to stay there, yes. And not only that, not only to stay there, but
Go and tell.
more exactly, return to your home, declare how much God has done for you. I mean, it just can't get much simpler. In the middle of a crazy world sits this little group of people who very quickly and energetically say, "Do you belong to Jesus?" And they say,
Yes.
you folks are getting to me this morning. You know what, folks? If somebody says, "Do you belong to Jesus?" The answer is yes. And it's a quick yes. Because that is what is really the only thing that makes us that Christians. That makes us the folks who sit in an otherwise crazy world and kind of say, you know what? No, I belong to Jesus, and because I do, I will not sign up for any insane ideas, other than the ideals of Jesus himself, which was to love and to heal, to be about peace, and to be about people living life and living it to the fullest. His words. Read them there in John. So if the world around you goes nuts, we've done this once before, by the way. No, we've done it a couple of times before as the church. Have you heard of Rome? Yes. Did you realize Rome, I mean, Legion here, this is the, did you realize Rome ruled most of the world once upon a time? Yeah, it did. Yeah, it did. What happened to it? It fell. I mean, it had some real interesting things, and everybody kind of made do with it. Everybody kind of signed up to yeah, well, we'll live with emperors who are really tyrants and who kill multiple amounts of people. We'll just make sure that we're not part of that. You know what happened to the Christian church in that? When Rome was overrun and things weren't doing well? We started to pray. And not only that, we gathered into groups that would live together, and we lived an alternative vision, as they said. You know what those visions, those alternative visions in those communities are called? Monasteries, convents. They became the place where by the Holy Spirit's gentle nudging, the wisdom of the world, which is really in peace, in love, in community, and in reconciliation, and in submission to this Jesus, saying, I will not have any other mind than the mind of this Jesus. This is where that was all fostered. And while Rome fell apart, they just kind of sat next to it in prayer, in peace, and in aid and hospitality to anyone who would show up. You showed up at a door and in a monastery that had been founded by the Benedictines. They'd put you out for a while and take care of you. We still in that place?
Can I sign up?
Do you belong to Jesus?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, well then yeah, you already signed up. I'm sorry to tell you this. It's already happened. You know, it's one of those places where for somebody in a brilliant flash of the Holy Spirit designed a community where if you showed up at its door, they would say, thanks be to God, we are glad you are here. We've been expecting you. And they'd probably even take care of you for a little while if you were really far down on your luck. And especially if you were far down on your spirits, on your own sanity. They were places where nobody made any compromises, but instead submitted themselves to Jesus in all things. And tried to live that, reminding one another, left and right of them, what they were and who they belonged to. Yeah, we have a long history, you know that? We have a history of some real place of peace and place of grace. Place where you come to think things through, place where you come because the compromises you have made in your life have gotten a little bit too big. And you need to talk to folks who live their life in the willingness to say, I know God has done marvelous things for me. Here he is, the lonely figure at the bottom of Jesus' feet saying, what do I do next? Well, what's the Lord done for me? He goes out and he tells that. It seems to have been his only message. Kind of like the great song, I once was lost, but I got found. I once lived in the places of death and the fear. I once was a figure that people fled from and tried to chain up and keep out of their lives as far as possible. As a matter of fact, they arranged their lives so that they could do so. And now I am found, I am safe, I am sane. And I seek again to look in the face of the one that set me free, Jesus. Can you be that person in this world? You know what? There's a fun part about it. You don't have to judge anything or anybody. You just have to say, I know a way of life. I know a way of living in peace, and it is in Jesus Christ. You don't have to argue. This is the fun part. It's a life that's lived, telling what God has done and continues to do for you. You do belong to Jesus, right?
Yes.
Okay, well, I'm going to start asking you that at the beginning of service, because I'm kind of embarrassed that that wasn't completely first. I'm going to have to start asking more questions. Folks, you do belong to Him. The work that's left before us is to say, God has done many great things for me. Let me tell you about it. And leave it sit there. For that is how the Holy Spirit finds other folks and brings them to Jesus. That is how the forces of darkness eventually flee. And all the compromises get exposed for what they are. Compromises with the weakest of forces in this land. So, there you sit, folks. You're witnesses, says Luke, to all that has happened in Jesus, with Jesus